Why do birds lay eggs? I mean, besides 200 million years of evolution and this whole reproduction thing. Birds lay eggs because if they dropped them, they'd break.
I got interested in birds probably a long time ago. I was always kind of a science nerd as a kid. And, I had a dinosaur phase and I had a rockets phase. And then somewhere around high school, I started having a wildlife and ecology and environmental science and bird phase. And somehow I don't do much with rockets or dinosaurs anymore, but I've kind of kept doing things with birds.
I think birding is important to the Pasadena community for a few reasons. One, as I always tell people when I meet them, and they say, well, why do you care about birds? And I think, look at it this way. Birds are an indicator species. So that means they're telling us what's going on in the environment. Think of the canary in the coal mine. Birds are our canary in the coal mine for where we live right now. So if we're living in an environment or an ecosystem where all of a sudden we don't have any birds, I don't want to be living there because something's wrong. And so when I tell people that, all of a sudden it changes their perspective, because a lot of people just think birds are annoying and messy. But when you realize how important they are, and important in many other ways too, some of them disperse seeds for different plants and that, but it's just, to me, just that fundamental reason of they're showing us things are okay or not okay. And I think we're also using birds within Pasadena to kind of change the thought pattern of the city to the trees that they're planting. We've been working with them to try to get rid of some of these ornamental trees, get back to planting our natives like our Engelmann oaks and things, because those are the trees that are going to bring in the appropriate bugs for all the birds to eat. They're going to be the ones for our, unlike this year, usually our lack of water supply. They're the ones that are not going to crack the sidewalks because their root system is right for it and go into your plumbing system. There's a number of reasons to plant natives other than just for birds and that. But they look pretty. But if getting that mindset that getting back to the plants that belong here, it makes everything better. It's better for, it's the environment, it's the climate we're built for here.
So the great thing about birding in Pasadena is, number one, we're sort of in the middle of things. And the second thing is we have the gardens. And then the third thing is we are not so overbuilt with distribution centers and whatever that there just isn't any bird habitat at all. Now we do have, of course, you look at Google Maps, look at the whole territory. Yeah, there's not a lot of green space, but the green space we have is what it is. And so here at Arlington Gardens and all the others, you look at it, keep us and others saying, it's all about habitat, and it's all about consistency over long time periods, which says native plants. And if we can just implement that strategy in our street trees, in our park trees, in our backyard trees, everywhere there's a tree, our native plants, get rid of our lawns, whatever, then we're actually getting to the point, if we can advance that to where what we call the abundance of birds, the actual number of individual birds, can either be sustained or theoretically grow from this point on.
Birds' lives are very complex and varied, and at times, terrifying, and so they're driven, like any wild animal, by things like desire to mate, protection of their young, need to find food, the needs to escape predators, the need to find a good environment to live, shelter, all those types of things. And those needs drive all of their behaviors, everything from why birds sing in the spring to why birds fly south in the winter to why birds squawk at other birds and why birds hate cats, and all those things. They're all, they're all these needs that these wild creatures have are directly kind of directly or indirectly revealed in the behaviors they do.
The thing that is really exciting about birding in Pasadena, in the Pasadena area, and that's basically our territory. Let me step back. There are 450 chapters of Audubon in the United States. There are about a little less than 50 chapters of Audubon in California. And then there are 9 chapters of Audubon in Los Angeles County, and we're one of them. Our territory is basically from La Colada, Flint Ridge out to Whittier area kind of thing, and then south from the San Gabriel Mountains into the valley area. So San Gabriel, sort of the northern San Gabriel Valley. The interesting thing here is we do have multiple habitats that others don't have, and we have multiple occurrences that are delightful. For example, we've got Huntington Gardens, Descanso Gardens, and the Arboretum. Birding great, and Arlington Gardens, wonderful birding spots. So you can wake up any morning and say, let's go birding. Now, we produced a book, The Birding Guide to the Greater Pasadena Area, which lists 27 locations. And each one of those, including the 4 I mentioned, you can turn the page of the book and say, oh, here's Peck Park or whatever, and here's what kind of birds I'm going to see, how I get there, whether they charge for parking or not, whether there'd be picnic tables, whether there are restrooms and all that. And so you can just take our book and say, all right, I've been to those other places, they're wonderful, but where can I see that I haven't seen before? Oh, okay, and no, without somebody just saying, oh, you really ought to go to Peck Park. Well, what do I do when I get there? Well, this will tell you. And some people come from all over the world, literally, to Southern California, because Los Angeles County is the birdiest county in North America. You can see more species of birds in a year in Los Angeles County than anywhere else. You can, experts will spend over the course of 1 year will see over 500 species of birds within Los Angeles County.
I was very pleasantly surprised by how great this area is for birds. It's actually astonishingly good. It's easy to take it for granted, but one statistic that sticks in my head a lot is just here in Los Angeles County, we have more species of birds than 43 entire states have. And that's due to the amazing range of habitats we have. If you think about it, here in LA County, you could be at the ocean in Santa Monica and see birds on the shore. You could take a boat out into the ocean and see things like albatrosses, birds you would normally see in a place like Hawaii or Tahiti. You can go up into the Angeles Crest into this subalpine environment where you see birds that normally you'd have to go to a place like Canada or high up into the Rockies to see. You know, plus we have the Arroyo, we have parks like this beautiful park, we have lawns, we have people with bird feeders, we have desert areas, we have scrubland, we have chaparral, we have all these different environments, and every one of those environments, there are birds that find those environments just ideal. And so when you combine it all together in this relatively small space, you just get an enormous number of different types of birds.
Our Young Birders program for kids who are really more into birding, that know they have a goal of either being a good birder, some have a goal of going to school and studying ornithology, even though they're pretty young right now. Our youngest is 4. He holds his own. We average around 10, and then we have a couple of middle schoolers that are 12. But our average is kind of 8 to 10 with the kids as far as the age range. And we meet once a month, and we've been having guest lecturers come in to teach the kids. We taught them about bluebird boxes, and we brought them here for a nature journaling course with Catherine Hamilton. Then we do a field trip once a month.
At Pasadena Audubon, I teach a class called How Birds Work, which is basically overview of the amazing biology of birds. And we talk about everything from how in the world can you make and lay an egg to you'll learn in the class, you'll learn why do birds sing early in the morning. You'll learn why is bird poop white and ours isn't. What you'll learn about how feathers work, and you'll learn about the astonishing physiological traits that birds have. Birds breathe way more efficiently than we do. Their hearts run way more efficiently than ours. Their digestion is more efficient. They're in many ways better designed than human beings are. They're miraculous things, and this is true whether it's a tiny little bird like a hummingbird or a huge vulture or condor. They the adaptations they've come up with to live these lives all around the world, everywhere from the middle of the ocean to Antarctica to deserts to mountains to forests and jungles, the amazing journeys they can do of migration, all of those behaviors and all those habitats they inhabit, it's all reflected in their biology and how their bodies and their systems are put together. So the class, how birds work, kind of dives into that and kind of opens a window that a lot of people that like birds and enjoy them, a lot of stuff about what goes on inside the body of a bird that they might not know about.
Everything they do is genetic and has evolved over millions of years. As the conservation chair for Pasadena Audubon, the threats to our local birds are similar basically worldwide. And so our activities can be categorized sort of in the same way. And then we can be a little bit more specific when we talk about the territory for Pasadena Audubon, including the San Gabriel Mountains and city of Pasadena and things like that. But the issues primarily are habitat. And that is, birds have evolved over, believe it or not, over 150 million years. They were and still are dinosaurs. And so when they evolve, and all these plants, they evolve to need certain aspects of their livelihood, including the right kind of food, the right kind of temperature, the right amount of water, the consistency of the water, and all these things have mutually evolved to what sometimes you could say is pick a time, but like this might be, or maybe 10 years ago, what we would call the Goldilocks moment, in that everything is just right. Well, it's just right because they have evolved to be just right, and the movement and how the climate changes and all these other aspects of human habitation and all that have changed more or less gradually. Well, now what's happening is these changes, including the loss of habitat, the development, the quality of the cow, because we're reprinting non-native plants, which are non-native insects, which are non-native caterpillars and all that. So we're changing these evolutionary requirements of the birds those requirements having been defined over literally millions of years so rapidly that they can't adapt. And so it's not only that the climate is changing, and we know that, but the consequences of climate changing, saying that the plants are changing, the insects are changing, and it could be that it's just because the spring is coming earlier because of climate change. Well, birds flying from, let's say, South America up to build their nests up here, they have evolved to where they expect spring to happen in roughly this time of year. And the reason why is because that's when the caterpillars come out, the seeds, the plant seeds come out, and that kind of thing. And so their whole process is based on, basically, we're pretty sure, is the length of the day. Climate change doesn't change the length of the day. And so if their clock still says when the day is just this right, then it's started to move north, because if you do so, the plants will be ready, the insects will be ready, the seeds will be ready, and whatever. And now that's all out of phase. Now they do have some, measure of plasticity, we call it availability, but the climate's changing so fast that that's not working. And so when we talk about 11,000 species of birds, virtually all of them are affected one way or another, whether it be the ivory gulls in the Arctic because the polar bears are dying because the sea level ice, or the penguins down there, the same kind of thing. Everything in between is being affected by climate change, but also the sort of urbanization, the much of the habitat being taken over by crops, whether it be palm oil or somewhere, or just destroying the Amazon in order to create enough grassland to feed cattle for hamburgers. All those things are happening so fast that the birds just can't adapt.
There's a connection between the ocean and what we see with birds in the skies and anything. Warming climate, warming oceans. The food supply has changed, so that affects birds. You just never know if we're going to get a cold snap, a warm snap. What I did my capstone project on was plastics in birds, and specifically Laysan albatrosses that live on Midway. And so they spend their whole life at sea. And so when they have their eggs, lay their eggs on Midway Island mainly. And so when the parents go in search of food, they can go hundreds of miles. They're going strictly offshore, and they're looking for squid because they want squid eggs. Well, when you're flying high and you're thinking, oh, that's squid eggs down there, and you scoop it up and it's trash and you're taking it back to your baby. And so that's what they're feeding the babies, because they can't tell the difference. They're birds, they don't know if it's trash or whatever. And so we're really seeing a huge impact there with just how plastics and just ocean pollution affects birds. And then just, birds that maybe rely on fish or invertebrates that come out of the near shore ecosystems. There's always a correlation there. And my other passion is sea otters, and the kelp forest is huge in providing a food supply for birds and for other animals. And so if we don't grow that, again, we're affecting what we're seeing up in the skies as well.
There's a relatively new technology that's been developed to help figure out how birds migrate and where they go. It's called MODIS. And basically what it consists of is tiny, tiny, tiny transmitters that we can put on birds and then release the birds back into the wild. It doesn't hurt them. They're not bothered by wearing these things. And as the birds fly away, say fly north for the summer, out throughout the country, we've put up these listening stations, these transmitting stations, or not, excuse me, we put up these listening stations, these receiving stations, and when a bird flies past wearing one of these transmitters, the station detects it going past, just like when you're on the freeway using Fast Pass or Fast Track, those devices along the road detect that your car has gone past. So by having these stations all throughout the landscape, we can learn much more about how birds migrate, when they pass different spots, when they spend some time in specific areas, what paths they take, how they actually make their long journey every year. So it's a very exciting technology. There are more than 1,500 of these listening stations scattered around North America, but there's very few here in California. It was a system that started back east, and we're way behind where we should be on this. So we at Pasadena Audubon, and myself particularly, have been working to get more of these stations set up here in Southern California.
The catalyst for developing our bird science program came from the point of, we had our Young Birders program, which was geared more for kids who have access to birding. They have parents that can bring them to our meetings and to our field trips, which is a requirement. We don't provide transportation. And there's a whole chunk of Pasadena that the youth, they don't have access to nature, they don't feel like they belong. They don't feel like they can get to places easily. And so we wanted to provide that component of education for those kids. Transitional kindergarten through 5th graders. And we also include some special ed classes in that if they are on site on campus. And we developed the curriculum in line with the next generation science standards. So they align with what the schools are teaching the kids. We just adapt it to use birds to teach those parts of the content. So we teach about feathers, we teach about food chains, we teach about migration, which is huge right now. And so we're covering all those areas in a fun way.
I think everything we do in our programs at Pasadena Audubon is aimed at a few pretty specific focuses. One is just to share our love of birds and the natural world, to get more people interested in it that haven't been interested in it before, to increase the knowledge and excitement and joy of the people that already are interested. That's a big part of what we do, and that's a fun part, and that's a part we'll never stop doing. And if we did nothing else, we'd be a great organization. In addition to that, it is our responsibility and our duty to explain to as many people as we can the threats that birds and the other aspects of the natural world now face. And those threats are almost entirely human caused. Things like climate change, like development, like poor land use planning, and to push back against those things when we can by informing people about global issues, but also doing a lot of work here in the community. Everything from trying to get people to turn their lights off during migration so birds don't fly into office buildings at night, to something as seemingly trivial sounding as keeping their cats indoors so their cats don't kill birds, because cats kill millions of birds every year, to getting the city to work toward using more renewable sources of energy, to getting them to help restore parks and open spaces here in the region. So those goals kind of work together. And the thing that I like about organizations like Pasadena Audubon is we welcome people that have any or all of those interests. If you just want to come on a bird walk and you never want to hear a word about politics or the environmental crises or anything like that, we're going to welcome you with open arms. We're not going to turn you away. Yes, come on out and take a look at these birds, and let's talk about them, and let's look at them, and let's take some pictures, and let's listen to them, and that's all great. But if you're someone that burns about things like environmental injustice and what we're doing wrong and what we could be doing better with the environment, we welcome you too.
In 2005, I had just retired from my career. And there was an interesting article in the Los Angeles Times about this organization down in San Pedro that was cleaning the oil off birds. And I have no idea why that sounded interesting to me, because at that point, I honestly could not have told you how many wings a bird has. I mean, I had no clue about birds, but it just intrigued me. And I was just out of retirement. I knew I was going to get involved with something, just too energetic to just, And so I called them up, and they said, well, this situation that we had here with the oiled birds, which is a natural oil seep. It wasn't an oil spill, but it was a natural oil seep. But that problem has been resolved, but we're always looking for volunteers to come down to San Pedro and help taking care of sick and orphaned and oiled aquatic birds, birds that want to be in or near water. And I live in La Crescenta, 40 miles from San Pedro, but I said, yeah, maybe this is an idea. So I went down and attended their volunteer orientation. And I said, well, this is interesting. I don't know anything about birds, and they're not looking for a signed contract or anything. So yeah, I'll start volunteering. And so volunteered 4 hours a week on a regular basis. That's what they asked for. I started volunteering, driving the 40 miles back through through Los Angeles traffic and all that. And I says, okay, this is interesting. And I'm driving all this way. I might as well spend the whole day. And so pretty soon it was 8 hours a day. And then pretty soon it was 2 days a week filling in. And then after about 6 months, they said, Dave, you remember that orientation that you attended? Well, the fellow that did that drives down from our Bay Area center to do that. Could you do that orientation? And I says, well, sure. And so I started doing that every Saturday, one Saturday a month, and was doing that. And then after a while, they said, well, will you be on the board of directors? And then for a while, the chairman of the board of directors. But in the meanwhile, it occurred to me that one of the reasons the birds were coming into the center, this care center, rehabilitation center, was that the water that they were swimming in was dirty, was polluted to some degree or another. And I says, well, maybe I can help solve that problem by becoming a speaker on behalf of Heal the Bay. And so, which is concerned with quality, ocean quality, and urban runoff and trash in the street ends into the ocean. And so, very active with Heal the Bay and speaking to each other. And of course, if you're interested in birds, well, you probably ought to be a member of the Audubon Society. So I joined the San Fernando Valley Audubon Society. Just a few years ago, I moved over to Pasadena Audubon and was very involved with them in conservation issues, as well as being the president of things like that. And then, so you got rehabilitation, you got all volunteering, etc. And then if you're interested in anything about life on our planet, then you should be interested in climate change. And so got very involved and am involved with causes and consequences of climate change, especially on birds. But of course, birds are everywhere. There are 11,000 species of birds on the planet, from as far north as high Arctic, where there's a beautiful white gull that follows the polar bears around and eats what they leave behind. And then there's another, of course, there are penguins down in Antarctica. And so everywhere in between, where there is any kind of food at all, there is a bird there to eat it. So that's sort of that's one of the reasons why I've traveled to the Arctic and traveled to the Antarctic to see that. So that's kind of my origin story in short, but that encompasses, 17 years.
I had been living up in Northern California, and I came home to become a caregiver for my parents. A lot of people my age, that's what we do. And so I was looking, birding had always been a part of my family, and I'd always been a birder, but I hadn't been an official partner of Audubon. So I thought, I'm going to join this local Audubon to have a little bit of an outlet. Coming from a special education background, I was a speech and language specialist for 20 years. And I always, the neat thing about speech is that you can use anything to teach what you're trying to teach. And so being a nature lover, and at that time a zoo volunteer, I was always trying to get my curriculum to be very science-based, very nature-based, and kind of, again, opening the doors for kids to feel comfortable in learning about those things. And then we found out we would get a lot of kids that would come see us at the zoo for our wildlife theater programs. We get a lot of kids that would come to zoo camp. And so it's just another way of us reaching the community, I think. And just anytime I can impart knowledge for someone to really love nature, I think that's a win.
What people can do, you and I, and that's whether we are an apartment dweller, whether we own acreage, whether we have a beautiful garden, is first and foremost anything you do to plant native plants, because they encourage native trees and all that. Natives.
And planting native plants is huge. That's a good food supply. And then just having, I think an open heart for, if birds are in your yard or don't worry about them being messy. And the other good thing about birding is inviting birds to your home is a messy yard is a good yard. So we invite, and you'll see signs here at Arlington Garden that say that, don't rake your leaves, because the birds need that's their food supply.
Not only is trash not good for the birds, but also the amount of energy and the amount of pollution that is generated just to get oil out of the ground to create a plastic water bottle that you drink of and throw away. That energy, if you could use, your water, your individual water bottle, whatever, reduce the amount of plastic you use. Pick up your trash. Keep your cats indoors. Very important. Protect your windows from window strikes. If you have a window strike, I tell people call me, because there are things for that. And then anything you can do to reduce your carbon footprint. Now, there are other things like shade-grown coffee that you could do, and some other things, but those are pretty much the major ones. One of my strategies to improve the habitat and all achieve all our goals is working any way we possibly can with what I kind of consider complementary communities. Now, when I say communities, it's not necessarily municipalities or whatever, but it's just organizations. And sometimes they're faith-based organizations, sometimes they're people like the Native Plant Society, sometimes they're just social organizations or whatever. But if they have even the slightest bit of overlap between birds and whatever they're doing, that gives me a reason to say, let's work together. I will support your issues, you support my issues, let's complementary. And so I'm doing everything I can within the resources I have to reach out to more and more communities. And again, our focus has tended to be pretty much the city of Pasadena and that kind of thing, but I really want to reach out to South Pasadena, to Monrovia, to San Gabriel, and all the cities, because all of them have birders. Birders are everywhere. They may be lurking, they may be hiding, they may be saying, oh, okay. And so if they're meeting in a group, and maybe it's just, you know, a Kiwanis club or something like that, where 5 of them are birders and they all kind of have something going on with a Kiwanis, then I will go and I'll come chat with them about that, cooperate, that sort of thing. So really working with other communities in the broadest sense of that word.
As the person that tries to find speakers for the Audubon Society for our public events and our meetings, I'm looking for a number of things. One, I'm looking for people that do have expertise in various areas, but also have the flame of passion about the natural world, or about birds, or about the threats that birds and the natural world both face right now.
Lois Brunet was our former executive director and actually our very first executive director, and full-time, which was wonderful. And then she just retired and is moving to France and not taking us with her.
Lois was and is just relentless in her desire to get more people involved with the stuff that we're interested in, with birds, with the natural world, with helping protect nature and helping to improve nature in places where we can. And she seemed just as excited and just as enthused and just as dedicated to explaining to, you know, one 7-year-old how a feather works as she would be to, you know, talking to a donor to try to get some financial support, or talking to the mayor of Pasadena and trying to get them to see reason about some local political issue. She's like the perfect combination of, like, you know, charming and knowledgeable and pit bull and you know, and organized and always looking for what more could we be doing.
Lois was a force of nature, I'll put it that way. And what made her unique, she was the right person at the right time at the right place, because she came in very energetic. She started out very simply as in a volunteer responsibility, then sort of a part-time thing, and then took over. But she was very, I want to say, meticulous to follow up. And then very knowledgeable, certainly about plants and birds and things like that. So she brought in a real skill set in there. I don't know how quickly or how she developed that, and then just a wonderful person, and engaging and pleasant and easy to get along with, and just all that. And so, and she, I want to say, left at a great point in that having done our strategic plan, and we had some pretty good ideas, and we have some really great board members. I mean, all our board members are just excellent, and so present company except, and so it was just, she was absolutely the right person at the right time, with just all the requirements. Jared does not have all those skills. By that I mean the plant skills and things like that. But he's young, energetic, and has a vision, and complementary and supportive of the our strategic plan. And so he brings an energy and a capability and a adaptability and things like that that is going to stand us very, very well in the future.
We have now hired Jared Nigro, who comes with a very strong nonprofit background and a vision of beyond I could even believe. So I'm very excited to be working with him.
Completely brimming with enthusiasm, and he will be the first to admit that he is not a lifelong birder. And it turns out that that doesn't matter as much as you think, because what he does have is enthusiasm and understanding of these issues, and an obvious sense of the importance that the types of things that Pasadena Audubon has been involved with for more than a century, how important those things are. Everything from the enjoyment of birds to the environmental issues that we look at. He's I don't think we could have found anyone better to step in as the new executive director. He's growing into the role every day. He's bringing a wealth of organizational knowledge and enthusiasm that's giving us a real shot in the arm as well. And he's just a delightful human being too.
If you want more information about Pasadena Audubon, you can go to our website, pasadenaaudubon.org, and you can check out, we've got lots of little tabs and menus where you can go see what we're doing. We do monthly meetings once a month, sometimes in person or in person and Zoom, like last night and the next one coming up. And field trips, come join our field trips. Sign up for those. And any of our, we have outreach activities. We love volunteers helping out with that. It's a great way to learn. And you don't need to know birds. We will help you learn. We will help you learn your birds.
Yeah. First off, go to our website because that tells you what we're doing and how we're doing it and when we're helping with the cleanups and things like that. And of course, enjoy, because our mission is education, recreation, and conservation, that all of those things all work together. And of course, if you're interested in the education process, supporting us, and I think you talk about our bird study program and things like that, but just go to our website because that tells, and then start reading our membership would be great, but our newsletter comes out 5, because I always write an article on kind of what's going on now and what can we do to help, because it does change, and there are some times when we have to react to something, and like a motion that's coming up through a city council meeting or something, we got to be on that, and so I need people that can follow what's going on in the 15 municipalities within our area and unincorporated Los Angeles County, and just watch the agendas for those key commissions or the key boards, whatever, and say, oh, wait a minute, there's something here about, let's say, electric leaf blowers or that sort of thing that says, oh, they're going to make a decision, let's do something about that. Didn't know that it was an issue, whatever. So I need people just to kind of monitor the situation and see where there is some place where we can make a difference.
Come on out. We have bird walks just about every weekend. If you go to our website, pasadenaaudubon.org, you can learn about our bird walks. They're virtually all of them are free. Virtually all of them, you don't have to be a member of Pasadena Audubon. You sign up, show up, and you don't have to be a bird expert. You don't have to know anything about birds. We're thrilled to have you. If you don't know the difference between a sparrow and an eagle, that's fine. Come on out, we'll show you. And we try to be as welcoming as you can. We welcome questions on the bird walks. We welcome newbies. So come out and enjoy us. And you may just find that birds are actually kind of cool, and I wouldn't mind learning a bit more about them, and I wouldn't mind looking at them some more, and I wouldn't mind hanging with some people that also like them, and it'd be great to have you.
Some folks need some folks, and what anybody can do, well, everybody, is if you've got a particular interest or a capability, like something related to law, but just an energy or a thought on, what can we do about herbicides? Well, you need to kind of dig into herbicides to find out what can be done, or insecticides, or that kind of thing. So folks that are willing to take the time to kind of do a deep dive on some of these major problems and say, what is going on elsewhere, what is going on in the state, what is going on in the county, what's going on in the municipality, what can we do to help? And again, monitoring the situation, identifying what can be done or what is being done, and then figure out the best strategy to address that. And that's continuing. That's now we've got other things that we do every year. And in terms of cleanups, in terms of advocacy meetings in Sacramento. So we've got a list of things that just are every annual process. We've got these things that are very active right now, and then we have some of the things that we just want to continue to monitor and see if there's any changes.
I would say within the last 3 to 4 years with Pasadena Audubon, it's something that we've really embraced and looking, we want the makeup of our organization to represent this community, which is people of all colors, all races, all ages. We want young people, we want older people, we want kids, we want everybody has a place here. I think for looking in the future of Pasadena Audubon is just continuing the great work that we're already seeing. We have so many people committed to saving land, just the conservation part of it, and advocacy. And I love that one of the leaders of our advocacy program started in high school, and now he's doing it from afar at Harvard, but he's still connected to us. And to see that passion, that gives me hope, because for my generation, we can't really fix what's going on. It's on that generation and our littles that we're working with the schools. And so seeing that, getting that community engagement again of saying everybody has a place here, of figuring out how to get those kids that have less access still involved in our Young Birders program. That to me would be huge, of saying, you guys need to be here. And we do see occasionally kids that can that do have that access, do come from, I've done the classroom programs, and they'll show up at one of our Young Birders Club meetings, and we're like, okay, this is working, we're getting there. But it's getting that access and really just getting people to understand that this is our only planet, and whatever you care about, be involved and get involved, whether it's native plants, whether it's, cleaning the oceans, whether it's birding, whatever you can do that's going to make this a better place for all of us, human or otherwise, and be passionate about it and just share that joy. And I think that's it. It's sharing that joy of nature, because nature heals. We know that. Nature is good for our hearts, it's good for our souls, and saying, everybody, let's get outside. Let's get away from the computers, get away from our phones. Let's be a part of where we belong. Come join us and come support what we do. We're a lot of fun. We are a lot of fun. We say we're bird nerds, but we're good bird nerds. And we would love to see everybody out joining our field trips, coming to our meetings, and just being a part of helping us grow and helping us be even better than we are, and really being a huge part of the Pasadena community.
Thank you.